Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB project.
There's something inexplicable about the powerful role music plays all around the world.
The angels up in heaven done fly by day.
From worship to work. From politics to play.
I would like to reach out my...
It mobilizes, it tranquilizes, it heals and transforms.
Boswell is supposed to have said to Dr. Johnson, "I'm greatly affected by music. Some music will make me weep. Some music will make me feel so brave I could march into the thick of a battle and not be scared of anything." Johnson says dryly, "If anything could make me act so foolish, I would not have anything to do with it."
Music has got an incredible power, presence. You know, sound is something that you can't escape when you're in its presence. With music, there's no looking away. That is part of the power of music. When you're near it, there's no escape. It can focus your attention on a particular ceremony, for example. It can act as a kind of social glue that helps a ceremony to go on over the course of several days, keeps people's attention focused. Music can be used in a work situation. You can find examples of that in Africa, where people are working in a field. Let's say that they're planting millet or they're threshing. Any kind of situation where you have got large numbers of people, you need to coordinate their efforts. You can use music to do that.
Music is something that people can dance to. It can move them out of one frame of mind into another. It can move them from being separate people to being one group of people. It can remind them of who they are. It also can get them out of the state that they're in now into some other state. It transforms them.
Why it's powerful, we can't say. We just know that music moves people. In the middle of a church service, somebody will fall out. And a lot of that has to do with the build-up that's been achieved through the music. There are many ways in which it's powerful. It's not necessarily powerful in a good way. Hitler used music brilliantly to organize people to do the wrong things. So the power of music is not exactly something we can put our finger on scientifically. But we can observe it, and we can talk to people and have them tell you what it feels like to be in a music situation that does something important.
Music plays a strong role in ceremonies and rituals of all kinds. In southern Africa, the medicine dance of the Kung is a ceremony that is usually held once a week to heal the sick and ward off evil.
Among the Kung, music itself is a medicine which heals people physically, heals their ailments. And that is a testament to the power of music. The Kung are also known as Bushmen. They are a people who live in Namibia and Botswana in southern Africa. They live in a semi-arid or desert region. It's a very tough environment in which to survive. And they are hunter-gatherers. They are people who live off the land. People survive really on the margins in that environment. It's very easy to go across the line and to get into real trouble through sickness. So the alleviation of sickness and suffering is a regular need that has to be addressed. The healing ceremonies that the Kung perform are one way of addressing those needs of restoring balance and harmony and health. The sound of the music itself is a healing sound. The music comes to people on a subconscious level. It gets right to the core, and it has a way of transforming you. One of the most interesting things about the healing ceremonies of the Kung is that there aren't any words. There's no text at all. Yet that music is very powerful, very moving, very emotional music. And how does that work? You know, you hear people singing, and they're yodeling. You hear this wonderful melody, little fragments sung by one person put together with little fragments sung by another person, and together you get a kind of composite melody that's not sung by any one person. It needs a community. There is no audience who is sitting and watching. Everybody is performing some role. You can be involved by singing, you can be involved by clapping your hands, you can be involved by dancing, but the important thing is that everybody is connected in the musical experience. There's a close connection between music and trance. Among the Kung, the men in particular, at some point in their lives, usually become healers and become capable of entering into trance. The state of trance is something that is brought about in part by the music and in part by the whole social occasion that is going on. And in that state of consciousness, a human being leaves his own body, or his consciousness leaves his body, and another consciousness comes into that body and is able to heal in that state. So the music helps the human being to bridge the gap between the natural world and the supernatural world. That's why the music itself has power. The music itself is medicine.
Life cycle rites and rituals mark important moments of transition in people's lives. Music often plays a vital role in elevating these events from the ordinary to the extraordinary.
I did a film in Greece and in Astoria, Queens, about this terrific community of Epirot musicians. Every time they have one of their celebrations, it could be a wedding or it could be a feast day, they have to have music. You can't have that ritual unless you have that good music. And the best musicians are up there in the mountains in Greece, and they'll fly them to Athens for that one festival. The issue of money isn't important, that he's there. You know, in most places, when you want to get excited, you go faster. But somehow in the Ypres, they go slower. And they want to show how intense they are. Oh, and expressions of and agony and pain and ecstasy, slow moving, exotic things like this. Oh, it's crazy. And they dance and they kind of outdo each other. And they lead each other around doing these slow, slow, slow things. It's very elegant. Well, by the time you get involved in that and everybody's sweating and pouring on the energy and slowing down, they're no longer where they were when you came into the room. It's a different place. And I think it's magic.
The power of music itself can be the force that draws people together.
Reach out my earth.
At rock and roll concerts worldwide, musical performance often facilitates the creation of community. Large concerts, such as those by the Pittsburgh-based band Rusted Root, are highly interactive and transformative events that bring participants together in ways that often transcend the performance itself.
Send me on my way. Send me on my way.
I think the question of what is powerful about music or a musical experience is very interesting, because I think it goes beyond the scales that are being performed or the particular rhythms or even necessarily the execution of it. I think that the environment that's created between the band and the audience provides some sort of emotional venue in which many magical moments happen. From the stage to the audience, you can see how the sound pulls people together into a collective because they're all moving to the same pulse. You know, the music is providing something for them to move to, and they're in agreement with us on stage. And somehow, in some way, we're all in this together.
They'll come and watch the show and they'll dance together, and afterwards they'll go outside and get their drums out of their trunks and play drums in the parking lot. It's a way to bring people together in an age where it's really hard to do that because society is increasingly not set up that way.
I think the performance of music is very cathartic even for the people performing it. I know that I get into a very meditative space myself when I'm performing. You get lost in the music.
Music plays a fundamental role in religious expression around the world. American gospel music is a uniquely African-American musical genre. During the service, music acts as a catalyst that draws the whole congregation together in active participation.
The word gospel actually means good news. It comes from the word evangel. And the evangel is the spirit of good news. And so when we speak of evangelism In the New Testament, we're speaking about the good news of God's love in Jesus Christ.
All who are able, stand to your feet and let us call ourselves together for worship and celebration.
Technically, what happens with music in our service is it begins with a prelude, and from that point on, music is almost analogous to the old steam engine. It starts rather slow, but as it builds up speed, it increases its energy. We called our service of worship a service of celebration and jubilation, primarily because of the good news. When you hear good news, you are celebrative. But I also recognize that on any Sunday, gathered in the pews of this sanctuary are persons who have not had a great deal to celebrate during the week. And so music serves not only as a rallying point, but it also serves as a therapeutic means.
In Jesus' name we pray and we go.
This music has one message. You've got to feel something. When you leave here, you should feel better than when you came in the door. Tom Dorsey was the godfather, if you will, of gospel music. Now, who was he? He was a blues musician, jazz musician, playing in the honky-tonks and all that. And then one day, according to Tom Dorsey, God spoke to him and said, no, you're going to stop playing this music. We're going to bring this into the church. Now, at that time, I mean, gospel music was resisted. Who are these people bringing this boogie-woogie music into the church? There was a lot of opposition to it. But slowly over time, you know, cream rises to the top. And you couldn't hold back this avalanche, this feeling, this desire, because it does speak to the people in a way that, you know, no other music form in our church really speaks to us.
The lyrics of gospel music, being scripturally based, do give a message of hope. But gospel music in and of itself has its power from also the musical accompaniment. There is a beat, there is a cadence, a rhythm. So the music must connect with people's interior.
When you walk in to a service, you may feel down, you may feel troubled, you may be distraught. But then the music begins, and it's soothing, and it's uplifting. And then you begin to feel you have strength. You know you've come home.
I'm a kid of the 60s. So for me, I came to this gospel music not through church, but really through the movement. I mean, whenever we were in demonstrations or I'd see demonstrations, there was always music being played.
Music has the power to unite people in common cause. It is often able to convey a political message in stronger and more emotional ways than speech. In the 1960s, during the civil rights and anti-war movements, music became a driving force in the struggle for social change.
There wasn't a single meeting that didn't have singing. We Shall Overcome was the most famous song, but there were hundreds of others. They'd change over a gospel song, put new words to it. Very common technique. Been done around for centuries. We Shall Overcome was originally a fast song. I'll overcome, I'll overcome, I'll overcome someday. When you sing We Shall Overcome, your shoulders are touching because you're crossing your arms in front of you and swaying, of course, from right to left. We shall overcome. Well, a month after the founding of SNCC, this song was throughout the whole South. It was the song. It wasn't a song. It was the song. In its own quiet way, it was taking the confidence. You can kill me, you can beat me, but I know we shall overcome.
In the prisons, they would sing songs. When they were being beaten by the dogs, they would sing songs. And you'd have to ask yourself, what was this thing about? Why were they singing these songs as they're being beaten? And the reason why they sang the songs was just like when the priest chanted Gregorian chants, or when a Buddhist has a mantra, or when you say Hail Mary, Mother of God in the Catholic religion. It was a means of going inside of yourself to find the strength within to deal with the outside world. One of my mentors was Bill Kunstler. There was one scene he told me about when he was in Birmingham, where he was representing Dr. Martin Luther King. And they had come from a demonstration, a rally, and King had been told that there were men looking to kill him that night. And they drove up to a house, and Bill and King were staying in the house together with a group of other people. And Bill told the story that people were petrified that night. I mean, they thought that the house was going to be bombed, and they darkened the house, so with no lights at all. And he was afraid for his life. And King must have sensed this fear in the room. And he walked over to a piano and started to play This Little Light of Mine. And the whole group just started to sing this song. And they sang songs all through the night. And Bill said at the end of this time, it was like there was nothing to be afraid of. I mean, he himself, a non-religious person, was moved by this music and himself strengthened by it.
Back in 1942, I was a member of a good platoon.
Plato is supposed to have said it's very dangerous for the wrong kind of music to be allowed in the Republic. There's an old Arab proverb, when the king puts the poet on his payroll, he cuts off the tongue of the poet. And when people ask me, can songs really change people's minds? And I say, I can't prove a darn thing. All I know is the people in power think so, because they keep songs off the radio and off the television that they think are dangerous for the people to hear, especially during the Vietnam War. My song, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy. Waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on. It didn't mention President Johnson by name, didn't mention Vietnam, but everybody knew what I was singing about. The captain told us to ford a river, that's how it all begun. We were knee-deep in the big muddy, the big fool said to push on. It was a song which was inspired by seeing a photograph showing American troops wading through waist-deep in the water of the Mekong Delta, probably.
We were waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool said to push on.
I was asked to be on the Smothers Brothers program, and the first time I sang it, it was scissored out of the tape in October of 1967. But the Smothers Brothers took to the print media, said, hey, CBS is censoring our best jokes, it censored Seeger's best song, what's going on here? And finally, in January of 1968, CBS said, okay, he can sing the song.
All at once the moon clouded over, we heard a gurgling cry. A few seconds later, the captain's helmet was all that floated by.
A friend of mine was working in the distribution office for Columbia Records in Denver, Colorado. He says, Pete, my boss took one listen to this record and exploded. He says, those people in New York must be nuts to think I can promote a record like this. He said, Pete, your record did not leave the shelf. So, as I say, I can't prove that songs do anything, but people in control of the country think they do.
Another stream had joined the Big Muddy about a half-mile from where he'd gone. We were lucky to escape from the Big Muddy when the big fool said to push on. We're waist deep in the Big Muddy. The big fool says to push on.
Funding for this program was provided by the Annenberg CPB project.
For information on this program and others in the Annenberg CPB collection, call 1-800-LEARNER.
This is PBS.